All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 78 of the Harvester Sports Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Noah.
I'm Austin. Dude, it's a sad day.
There's no way to really ease into it. No smooth transition to hit. It is McOver in Las Vegas. The regime is gone. McDaniels fired. Ziegler fired. Mm-hmm. Lombardi fired.
Mm-hmm. Dude's catching strays. Let's just get right into it. I don't know what he said. You know what I'm saying?
I'll say this. I was surprised.
And
not just surprised because I looked down at like 10:30 on Halloween and was like, huh?
That's
wild timing.
Yeah, that was
can't wait till morning. Gotta get this off my chest. Cannot let them sleep well tonight.
On a holiday, for real? On a holiday where the purpose is to stay up late too. So everyone's just having a good time. The kids are out trick or treating, and this bombshell drops that Mark Davis fires the duo. It's insane. Which I'm more surprised because I was certain that it wasn't going to happen this year. I thought he was 100% going to make it to the end of the year.
Yeah, I'll say I'm impressed that Mark Davis pulled the trigger on it because it basically is like, we messed up. And
exactly.
I mean, obviously is what it conveys. And, it looks a little odd when you cut your quarterback and then cut everybody else the year after. It's pretty much full-fledged, like, clean slate. We messed up. We don't know what's going on. Everything's an issue.
When you think about it, this coach was brought in that you get rid of your franchise quarterback, you get rid of your star tight end, you get rid of all these players that were there for years, you bring in this whole new regime's coaching staff, this regime's players, and before 2 years is even up, they're gone. And then all of that now is basically for nothing. Derek's a saint. I mean, God bless, it's working. We love it in New Orleans, but it was that regime that got rid of him.
And the question that I think the timing of it is really interesting, happening right after the trade deadline. Yeah. I'm really curious how much that played into the decision of, obviously the Raiders didn't do anything at the trade deadline. I definitely wish that they had made that decision the day before or even that morning because essentially the Raiders are entering full rebuild mode is what's happening. Oh, yeah. They've said that AOC is probably going to start the rest of the season. So I feel for guys like Devontae, who he's at basically the peak of his career, and he's ended up caught up in the middle of a rebuild, and then trade deadline passes by, and then that happens. So it's not like he could request a trade to get out of there or anything. He's caught in a weird position where he doesn't no hit against AOC, but I wouldn't guess wants to be in the middle of a franchise that's trying to rebuild right now.
No one wants to be in the middle of that. Yeah, no one wants to be in the middle of that. And like, if you just think about Devontae, saw the Raiders were a playoff team. They were in the playoffs, lost to the Bengals, sadly. Devontae comes to that team thinking, oh, this is going to be the same team. My friends here, they got a good roster. I'm going to join a playoff team. And within 2 years, that regime's gone. His quarterback is gone, and he's in a rebuild now. It's so insane to me the timing of it all. Because I like I said earlier, I'm more shocked that it happened because that is Mark Davis admitting we were wrong. This wasn't going how I planned. The way they built the roster, everything was not working. Like, this was a failed experiment in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, everything that was the plan has not gone according to plan. Like, the plan was not to be paying Josh McDaniels $60 million to coach a year and a half. That's all guaranteed. They're paying him the rest of the $60 million.
Don't feel too bad for that man. He's making a lot of money sitting at home now.
Yeah, and then Jimmy G, same thing. If they're benching Jimmy G, no matter what happens with him, Raiders are paying him over $11 million next year.
Jimmy, you're good, man.
I mean, it's just been the past year or two has just really been nothing has gone according to plan.
And I wish I could have looked back no one knew this was going to happen. But when you look at the signs, we saw the report before the trade deadline. Raiders went like stone cold dead on a lot of teams. Well, maybe it was because these dudes are about to get fired, like in trade talks. That's probably why Mark came in and said, we got to stop all these talks. This regime's about to go.
A cynical way to look at it is saying Mark Davis made up his mind that he was going to fire them, that he was going to clean house, but he didn't want to lose Tay. He didn't want to lose these guys.
Yeah.
And so he waited till right after the trade deadline. And so then he fired him because then they're locked in and they can't request a trade.
You can't demand a trade.
Because then you can't like Tay stuck there and you can't.
Yeah.
Dude, wow. This fly.
No, that flight was attacking you specifically.
Yeah, that's insane.
But no, you're totally right. You could look at it from the point of view where it's like, what the team there's not even the option of me trading them because we did it after. Like, you guys are locked in for this season now, and it's crazy to me. And then like when you hear like again about the signs, you see the reports of Mark bringing in like the big star guys like Devontae, Josh, Max, and asking them what the what's it like in the locker room, what's the relationship like. Obviously those conversations didn't go well. Like, obviously, all those conversations were, this is not where we want to be, obviously. They were a 3-4 team before the Lions game. They did not play like a 3-4 team. They looked really bad.
No, the fact that the Raiders have 3 wins right now is
I'm not even trying to be mean. Like, that game was so bad. 14 points.
And it's guys like Max. It's that defense stepping up that the defense is keeps them amazing. In a game. Yeah.
It's just... it's just such a weird situation, and I really hope all these guys I really hope they figure it out, and I hope this is a quick turnaround. And from the Raiders' point of view, from Mark Davis, I like the decision to start Aidan, like we said on Twitter, specifically because if Aidan is bad this season, you have the chance to draft a new quarterback because your season didn't go well. If Aiden's good, you know who you got, and you're in a position to make a push down the line. So it's a win-win starting Aidan and moving on from Jimmy G, because it was the same thing with Brian Hoyer. You know who Jimmy G is. You know who Brian Hoyer is. Let's just get all the questions out of the way. Let's see what our young quarterback plays like.
Yeah, I think it's just really interesting looking back at the way everything's played out now that it's just like completely blown up and was nobody's going to argue that it wasn't a disaster. And like, obviously the plan A was Tom Brady as starting quarterback of the Raiders. Mm-hmm. Now he could be GM soon.
Now it looks like he's going to be GM probably.
It's just really interesting. I also think that
you can get more cynical and say, was that the plan the whole time? For Tom to come in and either be A, the GM, or B, the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Get him in there eventually. Get him in the office.
Well, I think that was the plan to get him in
quarterback for sure.
At first.
Yeah, sorry.
Very obviously.
Yeah, sorry.
But maybe it's still could be an option. But yeah. This is a little bit out of character, but to hype up Tom Brady a bit,
God bless.
I would just say that because I'm not typically one to be like, let's talk about how awesome Tom Brady is. Mm-hmm. I do think that this completely blowing up and everything that has happened lately, it all just makes Tom Brady look even better because I've got a couple statistics here.
Let's hear them.
The Raiders are not the first attempt at replicating the Patriot system. Mm. That has happened many times. Yeah. That has happened numerous times, and it's never really worked. That's the story of the Belichick coaching tree. Is Belichick assistant coaches try to replicate what happened in New England. They try to replicate the Patriots dynasty, and it doesn't work. And the Raiders are the latest example of that. There are 10 Belichick assistant coaches that have gone on to be head coaches in the NFL. Their combined record as head coaches in the NFL is 219 and 305 and 2. So 219 wins, 305 losses. That's the Bill Belichick coaching tree. So
not a
like it's tree. It's never worked.
No, not
which
a
is crazy.
Tree.
Whether it was attempted in Detroit, in Houston, in Miami, in Las Vegas now, like it just hasn't worked. Yeah. And maybe I'll just put it out there. Maybe the reason for the 7 rings had a lot to do with Tom Brady, because that seems to be one of the big missing things. Yeah. Also, Belichick missing, but also Bill Belichick, since Tom Brady left, 27-31.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's record with Belichick, 219-66. So
that's such an insane record.
And I
heard that, I almost had a panic attack.
Which, I mean, I think Bill Belichick is a great coach. He's obviously a defensive mastermind.
Yeah.
But it's just incredible to look at what has been viewed as like the greatest dynasty in football history. Mm-hmm. And every time that it's been tried to be replicated without Tom Brady, it just has failed.
Every attempt to replicate has failed.
Where they're like, okay, so we're gonna do this type of play call. We're gonna bring in these people, this personnel, and it just hasn't worked. And the Raiders are the latest example of that.
And the Raiders were one of the most intense examples of that, going out and getting like hands full of players from there too. Yeah, and be like, we'll just plug and play. We'll just plug our guys in and forget the guys on our roster, Hunter Renfrow. We'll just plug and play guys in. That didn't even work because, like you said, 100% agree. Bill Belichick's one of the greatest coach of all time, mastermind defensive coach. But without Tom Brady, that dynasty doesn't happen. It was the perfect mixture of a Hall of Fame mastermind defensive mind of a coach and one of the greatest quarterback of all time. It was a perfect setup, and those two together was the only way that dynasty happens. You couldn't do just Belichick or just Brady. You've seen, Belichick won one without Brady, so but you can't replicate that without Belichick and without Brady. You cannot replicate what they did.
Brady won one without Belichick.
That's what I said. Yeah.
No, you said. Oh, you said the other way around.
My bad.
Okay.
My bad. There you go.
I was like, did he?
But yeah, you cannot replicate without those two. It was the perfect storm, and the greatest head coach of all time, and one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. That's why it worked.
Yeah, I think that's one of the criticisms of McDaniels failing with the Raiders is that he tried to be Bill Belichick, and he's not Bill Belichick. He's like a stat nerd.
Exactly.
Who has some of certain aspects of Belichick's coaching repertoire, but he's not Bill Belichick.
Yeah. And to even
at the end of the day, it's probably that he wasn't wearing the sleeveless hoodie.
It probably was at the end of the day. Sleeveless hoodies work out for athletes, but even to just write on something that DCA was saying on the Info Network today, it does feel like McDaniels came in and without getting the respect of the locker room, just tried to make it his and be like, I'm coming into your guys' house, even though he's the head coach, he has the authority. I'm going to come in here, not try to get the respect from you guys. I'm going to push guys out. I'm going to bring my own guys in and try to replicate it with the mindset of, I come from Bill Belichick. I come from this, the greatest dynasty of all time. Like, respect me. This is my domain. And it didn't work. You didn't have the respect of the locker room. And now you're fired. Sorry. But hey, you're making money on the couch. It's fine. And there's guys on the Raiders that we all still love still. I hope they figure out quick. I hope Aidan cooks. Also, real quick, before we move on, I do feel bad about Ziegler because I feel like he was only fired just because they were a package duo.
You could name a good draft pick.
Yeah.
Could you? No, you can't. I don't feel bad. Sorry, my bad.
I do like some of the moves he made in free agency and stuff. It is hard because if you come in as a duo, one gets fired, you're both gone. It's hard. It's just
and Lombardi too, gone at offensive coordinator. It's a complete clean house.
Yeah, it's hard, but
that's how the cookie crumbles, especially when you grab the cookie and go.
Yeah, especially when you grab the cookie and go, everyone's gone. Especially when you take a cookie and you say, I want to make a cupcake out of it.
When you take the cookie and say, oh, I don't like this cookie.
Yeah, when you take this cookie, I like this cookie, but I love cupcakes, and try to make it a cupcake.
When you start picking the chocolate chips out of the cookie, it might crumble.
Yeah.
Might fall apart. There's an analogy in there somewhere.
Exactly. I like chocolate chip cookies, but I don't got the chocolate chips.
As far as next steps for the Raiders is filling the head coaching role, I would say there's a world in which the Raiders sign Jim Harbaugh as their next head coach and then turn around and draft JJ McCarthy out of Michigan to be their next quarterback because he's worked with him, playing with him, currently coaching him, and it's working out well. And McCarthy is projected to go about the time of the draft where the Raiders might be drafting, depending on how things go. So that's one thing I'd say. But also, you never know how that works when you think you get a coach for a quarterback and stuff like that. So it's a little, especially with the draft, it's hard to guarantee that you're going to get that guy. But I think that's one possibility is that if they go for Harbaugh, which is a name that a lot of people are throwing out, it's a name that people are throwing out 2 years ago when they hired Josh McDaniels as a possibility. And if they do sign him, then you got to think about if they're drafting a quarterback, are they going to draft Jim Harbaugh as quarterback? They definitely might, especially because, McCarthy's a good quarterback. He's good when plays break down. He's mobile enough, and plays are going to break down. That offensive line, it'll hurt you.
That will hurt you. I think you're totally right. It just makes sense to bring guys together that have worked well together. Same reason Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are on the same team right now. Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, there's also...
to a more intense extent of head coach and quarterback, of course.
Yeah, I don't know who... They could... I mean, hey, if you want to try to actually start beating the Chiefs, you could make Eric Bieniemy your head coach.
Yeah, it's true.
See if that works. I don't know.
And also, real quick before we move on, I wonder if Mark Davis will kind of use or take the past and learn from it. If Antonio Pierce comes in as interim head coach and performs well, and the team does flip and they start performing well, if Antonio Pierce will be given another chance, unlike Rich Bisaccia. When that team lost their head coach, when they lost John Gruden and Rich Bisaccia came in, the team made a good push. They made the playoffs. Sadly, didn't bring Rich Bisaccia back, even though some of the players were asking for it. I wonder if this time they will look more intensely or with just a different mindset at this time. If the interim head coach comes in and they just start performing better.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive if.
Yeah, it's very true.
Although, that it is true that the last time that the Raiders had an interim head coach that was somebody who on paper doesn't have a super impressive coaching resume, but is a locker room guy that people love and is a great leader, which I know very little about this guy, but from what I've seen from the press conference,
it looks like he's...
conference, it seems like he has what McDaniels lacked, which was
it's like he has, I don't want to compare him to another coach, but he has that Dan Campbell almost
he just seems like
personality with him.
Yeah, he's the type of
football guy.
He's the football guy.
I just want to throw that out there.
At the end of the day, he's just a man who loves the pigskin.
And he loves ball. And he'll cry and yes, Dan Campbell is great because I love football so much. But yeah, I wonder if they if Mark Davis would if they make it, it's a big if because I don't think it's going to get turned around right away. But if it starts going well,
I would say the major difference is that I don't know, with Rich Bisaccia coming in, who did an incredible job of holding that team together through a really tough and trying year with off the field stuff. Yeah, that he was able to be glue that held it together while they also had a experienced offensive leader in Derek. Yeah, it's different this year because you have, even if you have a rookie quarterback, it's just different.
Just plain simple.
Just saying.
Plain simple, you have a rookie quarterback and you have a veteran quarterback that hasn't been performing. It's going to be a little different.
Yeah, I start acting like Jimmy isn't even there anymore. But that's basically what it sounds like.
So what the Raiders are going to do, they're going to pretend like he doesn't exist anymore. So don't look. They're going to kill him.
I hear the Cowboys are willing to trade Trey Lance away.
Speaking of veteran quarterbacks, insane segue by me, I guess. Kirk Cousins going down with an Achilles injury, out for the season now. That's devastating. And because Kirk is such, just off the field stuff, Kirk is such a nice guy. All of his teammates love him, talk about him so immensely. But it is worrisome. What the Vikings were trying to make a push. Now what happens? The Vikings started winning these big games. Now you trade for Josh Dobbs. Is he gonna be able to get you to where Kirk could have got you? I don't really think so.
Well, no, he's not as good as Kirk, but the way Josh Dobbs has been playing, the Vikings could be competitive in the NFC North with Josh Dobbs at quarterback. He's stepped up in his in Kyler Murray's absence, and so it's obviously is a huge hit not having Kirk, and that is a big drop off. But I wouldn't count them out of the playoffs necessarily. I think there's a path where they end up in the playoffs. I think the Lions, they're 4-4, they're 2 games back right now, but the Lions are just a good team. They haven't played great the past 2 weeks, but I think I still think the Lions should win that division, but the Vikings are, in a better place than it seemed like they were going to be at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
and a lot of that's because of Kirk. So
yeah. So I mean, the Vikings have Jaron Hall, the young quarterbacks on their roster. They have Josh Dobbs. Like,
I mean, if you're getting Jay Jettis back soon too, yeah, it's just a bummer because the Vikings were in a position to actually start making a push here.
Exactly.
Or trade Kirk to the Jets, but
which, can you imagine if you were a Jets fan, the bad timeline where Aaron tears his Achilles, you trade for Kirk, he tears his Achilles. Can you imagine the awful time? You just gotta call it quits after that. I'm not watching football. It's over. But yeah, I mean, you have Addison, who just is being a rookie sensation right now, going playing amazing with Jay Jettis' absence, and now you're getting him back. Must be so heartbreaking for Vikings fans because you were so close to what felt like starting to get that ball rolling, especially after a big victory against the Niners and stuff like that. It's sad. I hope that wasn't the last we saw of Kirk, but we'll see. I mean, real quick, also talking about Josh Dobbs, seems like just from a trade perspective, seems like the Cardinals are, feel like Kyler's going to be perfectly fine. He should be starting to play soon. It's going to be exciting to see him come back.
I mean, I think reading too much, I don't know. You could drive yourself crazy trying to figure out why the Cardinals always do what they do. So
it's very true.
Sometimes they also just mismanage things. So I don't know if seemingly they are putting all their eggs in the Kyler Murray basket.
Yeah, the Gannon family's just weird.
They've been weird on occasion about some things.
They've been weird. They've been little sticklers about some stuff.
Now, another NFC team that I want to talk about is them boys, the Cowboys.
Them boys.
Because,
I'm
just gonna say that first of all, this NFL trade deadline, not a lot happened at the trade deadline. But of the teams that people should be most critical of, I think it's a big mistake of the Cowboys that they did absolutely nothing at the trade deadline. The Cowboys should have made some moves at the deadline, because Dak Prescott has been in the NFL for 8 years now. The Cowboys have perennially been a good team, not a deep playoff push team, not a bad team. They've been a good team. And you have Micah Parsons as the cornerstone of that defense. On offense, you have Tony Pollard, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have good weapons on that team. You're in a good position where you're 5-2. You could potentially win that division. At some point, you have to go all in on winning with Dak one of these years or move on. The Cowboys have their draft picks all the way up to the 4th round next year, and they have every draft pick after that the next year. You need to make a trade. Your offensive line is bad. You have all these issues but you're still a 5-2 team, or you're still a team that is close to winning that division, close to being able to make a deep playoff push, but instead every year you come up short of actually competing come playoff time. You need to actually go all in one of these years rather than just holding on to draft picks and stuff. I think it is a big mistake that the Cowboys didn't make a move to try to, even just what it communicates as far as if you make a big move at the trade deadline like the Niners did, then you're communicating okay, we're trying to win it this year. And you have to do that with Dak at some point. He's been on your team for 8 years, and you haven't made a strong deep push, but you've always been competitors. And at some point you just got to commit to one of these years being hey, we're gonna go all in, we're gonna trade, we're gonna go out, get our guys, do whatever it takes, even if it means giving up picks next year where we're not drafting in the 1st round, not drafting in the 2nd round. If that's what it takes for you to finally get to an NFC championship, then do it.
I think totally right. I think it looks like a team that,
because you're complacent. You can't grow complacent with being a 1st round exit.
You're sitting on a team. You're sitting as a team right before the finish line, and you're too scared to make that final step always, and you're always falling short. And it just I think you're totally right. You either have to say, it feels like a team that just can't make up their mind. Do we want to go forward with Dak and take everything away, or do we want to ride the fence and be let's see what Dak can do by himself or with this team, and if it goes bad, we'll draft a quarterback. But then the time comes to draft a quarterback and you don't do it. It's a team that just cannot make up their mind. Is Dak your guy, or is he not your guy?
Well, and I think, they like made some moves where they brought it earlier in the year where they brought in Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore, I think, right? But it's not like it's not like a team changing trade. And at some point, you can't keep calling yourself America's team while you're complacent with being like a good team. You need to actually make a push to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's exactly. At the end of the day, that's what you're doing you're supposed to be doing as an NFL team. You're supposed to be winning Super Bowls. No one cares how many good seasons you have of being average. No one cares how many average seasons you have. Go win a Super Bowl. You're a team that has every capability in every way. Like, you have so many different ways that you can make your team better and you can make that push, but you don't do it and you sit complacent, like you said.
Especially, we can also talk about that the rest of the NFC at the trade deadline, the top teams in the NFC got better at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
The Niners got better. The Eagles got better. The
Seahawks got better.
The Seahawks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like everybody was just sitting around. Like, the teams you're competing with to get to the NFC Championship, to win the NFC Championship, we're getting better. And, like, talk about the 49ers trading for Chase Young.
Yes.
I love that.
I love that too.
Because it's not even like defensive end was like a glaring need of like, the Niners really need another defensive end. No, they're just like, hey, we have one really good defensive end. We have a Pro Bowl defensive end. What if we add another?
Yeah.
Like, what if we make that an even better strength?
And it's just them going out and being like, we're gonna every chance we have make our team better and make our team just every chance we have we're gonna improve our team. Yes, we would have liked to see them improve like their corners, which it looks like they tried, but I mean they didn't just throw in the towel. You know, they didn't get the moves they wanted. They throw in the towel. They went out there and they got Chase Young, who won defensive rookie of the year his rookie year. And yes, he deals with injuries, but if he stays healthy and maybe just a change of scenery, oh my gosh, like Nick Bosa and Chase Young coming at you, the quarterbacks beware.
Yeah, I mean,
it's insane. It sounds just crazy.
That's a defensive line with Bosa, Hargrave, Armstead, and now Chase Young is a ridiculous defensive line. And that defensive line has had it has a lot of talent on it. They haven't been producing as many sacks this year as I think a lot of people would have hoped. Not that they've even been bad, though. And so they're just like, all right, let's make us better. Yeah, even if it's not a glaring need, the 49ers are communicating once again like, hey, no, we're serious about winning. Like, we're going to take every opportunity to get better.
Well, they said if they went out and they were like, we need to fix our cornerbacks or defensive backs. We can't do that. Fine. Let's just give the quarterbacks no time to get the ball out. Then we won't really need to care about corners. We're just going to go get you.
If he's on the ground, we can't throw it deep, so it doesn't matter.
We're just going to come get you then if we can't get locked down corners. We're just going to come get you, and you'll have no chance to throw it past 20 yards. I love the move by the Niners, and I love, like we're talking about, unlike the Cowboys, making the forward progress just to get better and any way possible just to play better as a team.
Now, from the Commanders' perspective, the Chase Young trade,
it means something different.
I've got mixed feelings about it because it's like Chase Young, like a young, obviously he had a bad injury and he's just now coming back from it. He'll probably get back up going and be great again soon. So it's sad to see him get traded away when he was supposed to be like the future of the franchise. Also brutal after Jonathan Allen in that locker room interview 2 weeks ago said that he was like tired of losing and complaining. He's like, yeah, I've been here for 7 years and all we do is lose. And then they just go ahead and trade away Montez Sweat and Chase Young. So now he's like the only guy on the D-line. Mm-hmm. Pretty brutal for him. But I mean, I think it's clear that the Commanders are just going full rebuild, which is, I mean, the Commanders are not even like that. D-line could have been and should have been was really good. It's just the Commanders. What they have is Sam, who it's obvious that Sam is the guy. It's not a question anymore. Sam Howell is the guy. He's going to be your quarterback, and you've got a good receiving core, but your offensive line is like the worst thing in the history of football. So I mean, what I see from this in them trading away is, okay, we're just going to go all in on like drafting offensive line this next year, building up around Sam, and then adding other pieces. But it's rough anytime you trade away like your young studs like that, and for not a lot of picks either.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Well, yeah, and I think you're totally right. The way I look at it is the Commanders saw that they have two good defensive players who are both on or coming up on contract years, and they're like, we're not in a position, we're going to save our cap space, we're going to draft good players, and we're going to spend money in free agency next year, and we're just going to make a move then. We're going to kind of like gather as many chips as we can. We're going to sit back. We know we have good pieces, and we're going to sit. We're fine. It's fine just to wait one more year, and then that fly touched me on the nose. We're gonna sit and wait, and it could go anywhere in the room, but it wants to be here. We're just gonna sit back, and we're not like fully giving up, but we're just gonna be smart with our decisions here.
Yeah, and that's the way that I think you have to look at it in order for it to make sense from the Commander's perspective, is looking at it with the assumption that both Sweat and Young were probably gonna be gone after next year anyways, because then it's like, yeah, if they're going to be gone and you're obviously not at a point where you can make a legitimate push like this year, so you may as well get something for them and then build up towards the future. That's why I think it makes sense to get rid of them, as heartbreaking as it is, that it's probably the right decision, just because if you're going to lose them anyways and you can't make a push this year, try to build up next year when you hopefully have a better offensive line and Sam is more comfortable, more developed. Hopefully the Bieniemy, and if it's Rivera or whoever else the coach is at that point, it could be Bieniemy as head coach then.
Sure. And here's also talking about the Montez Sweat trade from the other side of it that kind of confused me, is the Bears' perspective of it, because you are a bad team. You're a bad football team. We all know you gotta get more pieces. You gotta rebuild. Trading your second round pick, which is probably going to be, spoiler, going to be a high second round pick. It's going to be early in the second round.
Was Sweat a second?
Yeah, they got a second round pick for trading for a second round, or giving your second round pick, which going to be a high pick, for a guy that might not even sign back with you. Like, he doesn't have to. You can franchise tag him, I guess, if you want. You can keep franchise tagging Montez Sweat all you want. But like, there's a potential that you give a second round pick away and then you lose this guy. You're a rebuilding team, and I know we just talked about the Cowboys trying to get better in every way possible, but this feels like a way where, sure, you're getting better, but like in the long-term plan, you should have gone a different path, and this feels like maybe back up, and maybe the Commanders saw a buyer and they jumped on it, because they're like, oh, you're going to give us what for this? Okay, yeah, sure, we'll take it.
Yeah, it is an interesting decision from the Bears, just because, the optics are like, outside looking in, it just feels like the Bears are like 2-3 years down the road from having something going. I mean, they have multiple first round picks this next year. They might have a quarterback or they might not. But it is. I mean, I think it goes. The only thing I can think of is it just goes into sort of like the tradition of the Chicago Bears, regardless of who they have at quarterback. They always have like a strong defense and like some good like edge rushers or good guys on their front five. Yeah. So they maybe just want to have that, because that's just something that they always have, is like a solid defense or something.
They have to be confident that they'll get him back. They have to be confident.
Which, by that point they might, like, if they're, he's young and if they have a good draft, I don't know. Yeah. They might, and he probably could re-sign with them.
I mean, another NFC East team that got better. Giants made the move to get rid of Leonard Williams for a second and fifth, which is a great, I think, just move for them and a great haul for them. Like, you didn't really need Leonard Williams, because you have Dexter Lawrence, who's one of the best defensive linemen in the league right now. Kayvon Thibodeau, who's going to be one of the, who's like a shining star. And it makes sense. If you can get a second or fifth round pick for this guy, he's taking up a lot of cap room. I think it's a great move by the Giants. Especially, I mean, you're in a position where you kind of need to stock up picks too, and you kind of need to prepare for the future, because obviously this season is not hitting either. And you have guys. It's hard, because if you're the Giants, you have Eagles, who are one of the best teams in the league right now, Cowboys, who are just always consistently good, and the Commanders, who have jumped over you in terms of just consistent play in winning. So as the Giants, you got to make a move, and I think this was actually a good one for the Giants. And Leonard Williams did talk about how he was in talks with the Giants with the GM, and he got to kind of choose where he went, which is very nice and doesn't happen a lot in the NFL, which is very sweet. They gave him an option. They're like, we have these teams talking to you. Where would you be comfortable going? That's extremely nice for the NFL.
And another NFC team that we're talking about with the Niners, something that isn't necessarily like weakness of your team, but making it better. The Eagles have a good secondary.
Yeah.
And they said, what if we make it better? What if we sign another safety?
Kevin Byard, yeah.
Yeah. Signing Kevin Byard, they made it even better.
Great move too. He's a great football player.
Which, I mean, that's like, this is the same thing we talk about with the Niners, that what that communicates is like, yeah, we're serious about this year because we know our secondary is good. We're making it even better.
And this is, just like we just talked about the Commanders, this feels like the Titans saying like, you know, we got our deal. Like we have our quarterback, or what seems like it. We have some young guys that we like, and like Traylon Burke and stuff. We're just gonna, take our guy, get some picks. We'll be better in a year.
And if Ryan Tannehill didn't get injured, who knows how long it would have been before we would have gotten to see Will.
Who knows? And they were just sitting on him. They were sitting on Will, sitting on Malik. Also, before we move, love what Will said about Malik and standing up for another quarterback on the roster and another teammate like that. Love that.
Yeah, where you're saying, criticizing the fans for booing him when they took Will out, put Malik in for. Yeah, but I mean,
Will's a great guy. You can see that on the podcast we did with him if you go watch.
Good plug. Yeah, and that great. Talk about most touchdowns ever thrown by a rookie in his debut. Something light, I guess.
Well, I have so many opinions on it, because it's so. You love seeing a young quarterback given an opportunity, and a head coach like Vrabel having so much trust in him, where they allowed him to throw it deep, which is, I think, beautiful. They weren't protective of him. They said, go in there and just start slinging it, and it worked.
Dude, the Titans can be. The Titans can be really competitive.
Yeah,
like Derrick Henry, an offense with Will playing like that. If he continues to play like that, and D-Hop playing like better than ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's just entering his prime. And then Derrick Henry also, like that is a good team. Yeah,
you strengthen your offensive line this last offseason. You went out, you got DeAndre Hopkins. You have a quarterback, you have a great quarterback for the future. Dude, you guys are set. Like you guys, like I get trading Kevin Byard away, get more picks, keep building. They look like they're gonna be a good team soon. And I'm very excited for Will.
Played great. And that's even going in on like short, not really having as much time to prep with Will and everything, with Tannehill getting hurt. But if you're like going forward for the season, starting Will and actually Vrabel working with him on growing how to like his style and unlocking, even like that game, they didn't use Will's mobility a whole lot. Yeah. If you incorporate even him running and all sorts of other stuff, there's a lot of potential to turn that into like a really dynamic offense.
Yeah, and I mean on the opposite side of the ball, that game, sitting Ritter and putting Heineke in looked like it was the right move that game. Like it worked. Heineke's shown you before that he could win football games, and he started to come back, and ended up being a great game.
Yeah, and I think
feel sad for Desmond, but
I wonder how much of it's hard to not look when they do stuff like that. It's hard to not look at it as them giving up on Ritter, because the issue was never, at least from the way I see it, the issue was never like them thinking that Ritter is better than Heineke. Yeah. I feel like it's obvious that like if you're starting one of them to try to win a game, it would be Heineke's the better quarterback. Yeah. But Ritter, if you think he might be your guy and there's upside, then you go with him. And that's why he's been the starter. But when you start bringing in Heineke, I wonder if that's like, it's hard to not look at that as them kind of being like, okay, maybe Ritter's not our guy and we're giving up on him. Yeah, and it's hard because Ritter wasn't even playing that. Like he was using his legs well and he was moving well. And it is hard because, as the Falcons, you got to decide what you want. You want to keep testing out your guy. Also, like you said, just because you pull him doesn't mean you're giving up on him. I don't want to compare him to Tua, but they pulled Tua in the middle of games before. Well, and even the Falcons could be real competitors with a quarterback. I mean, Kyle Pitts is only going to get better. Bijan Robinson is already looking like one of the best running backs in the league. I mean, the Falcons are in a division now where
you can't sit idle by. It's going to be a competitive division just within it itself. Like there's all those teams have a chance. The Panthers are really young. Falcons are really young. Saints are a powerhouse in that division. Buccaneers played well. It's hard. You got to decide. Win now, win later.
Sam Howell was sacked the least amount of times this week as in his NFL career.
That's good.
Sam Howell was only sacked once this week.
God
and
bless.
The Eagles have a good pass rush, so how to happen?
See?
We don't know.
Hey, if you want to break DCA's record, you can't be getting sacked once.
That's true.
You got to keep those numbers up, but also some of those other weeks you could have pushed you over the top.
I also think that the Commanders things aren't going great, even though they were really competitive with the Eagles, which happens when your quarterback only gets sacked once. Apparently, if he's not sacked 6 times a game, you can actually come close to winning a game. But I think that I mean, it feels like an easy cop out to just blame everything on the offensive line for any team, to be like, oh well, if the offensive line was better. But watching the Commanders games, if the offensive line was better, they'd be better. Because even people criticize Eric Bieniemy coming from Kansas City and doing great things there, to the offense is not exactly rolling all the time in Washington. And I don't necessarily blame that on Bieniemy's play calling. I think that in Kansas City, not only did he have Patrick Mahomes, but people forget that the Chiefs also have perennially always had a top 5 offensive line every year. So the play calling, you have time, especially with Patrick Mahomes is good about extending plays and stuff. You always had time to plays always had time to develop. Yeah. And it's hard to go from doing that and being incredibly successful at it, where you have plays have time to develop. Patrick Mahomes can get through progressions, and then going to Washington where Sam can get through one read. He's lucky if he gets through 2 progressions before he's on the ground. Yeah. If his first read isn't there, then he's on the ground. He can't go, oh, let me look at this, let me look at this, let me keep the play alive. He's running for his life.
Yeah, your quarterback can't win games when he's on his back.
So that's why it's tough to blame even play calling. If you're criticizing not getting enough receivers open or whatever. They're open if they had one more second and they're open, but the ball's got to be out in 1 second. So
with more time, anyone can get open. It's just you got to keep your quarterback up. You got to keep him up, and he cannot win games on his back, and that's been true since football has been a sport. Your quarterback cannot win games if he's getting sacked 3 or more times a game. 3, so that's how some people forget. Getting sacked 3 times in a game is crazy. That's should not happen. That's high. But you had guys.
And Sam was averaging 5.
Yeah, you have guys getting sacked 5 times a game, which is insane. Derek talks about all the time. If I get hit 3 times, it's this is a bad game. I'm getting sacked back here 3 times. It's a bad game.
Dude, and that's Sam's a mobile guy too.
Yeah, insane.
If you put Sam is running and escaping and getting the ball out. He's getting the ball out. So if you have a guy that wasn't getting the ball out and wasn't running, that's 10 sacks a game.
And just think about it. Most times, 5 sacks is 5 downs you've lost. And most times when it's not even a sack, I would say half the time there's going to be a holding call. If it's close to being a sack, your O-lineman's going to start grabbing and protect you. And that's going to bring your play back.
Holding, or you're throwing it away, or you're forcing something.
You're forcing an interception. You got to protect your quarterback. That needs to be step 1 for every organization out there. All you little scouts and GMs out there, protect your young quarterback. Protect your quarterback.
Which I think... it's
not crazy.
My hope is that is their plan with trading away Young and Sweat is if that's not where some of these picks go next year, then there's questions that need to be answered.
And we've seen that happen before too. We've seen teams have top picks in the draft who have let their quarterback be sacked 76 times, and then they decide, let's go defense here. And then the year after, and 6 years straight. But that's fine. One day y'all will get it.
Do we talk about the Saints or no? Nah.
Yeah, they cooked.
Saints cooked.
Hey, you guys want a Saints update? They did great. Derek threw 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bang, bang, bang. Kamara, amazing game.